at susunod na henerasyon. Ang isang lipunang higit na demokratiko, makatarungan at may pagkakapantay-pantay, may pakikiisa at pagkakaisa. O Inang Maria, ikaw na babaeng mapagmahal at makapangyarihan, sa aming sentenaryo, samahan niyo kaming Senado sa aming paglalakbay, nakaugat kay Inang Kalikasan at naglilingkod kay Inang Bayan. Siya nawa.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino Binay, Cayetano de Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Ligada, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Zuberi, Senate President Pimentel.
With 23 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 10th session, Tuesday, August 16, 2016, and consider the same as approved.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, we'd like to acknowledge some guests in the gallery. We have the Junior Bedan Law Circle of San Beda College, headed by Mari Javier. We also have the grade 11 students from the Child Development and Guidance Center, headed by their professor, Ms. Beatriz Marababol, and Principal Ms. Lorosa Sobong. And, Mr. President, top of the agenda for today, we also have as our guest our Olympic silver medalist Heidelin Diaz, together with Chairman Butch Ramirez of the Philippine Sports Commission. I'd like to welcome them to the Senate, Mr. President.
Welcome to all of our guests, especially to our Olympic silver medalist, Heidelin Diaz.
Related to that, Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to consider Senate Resolution 83. Taking into consideration Senate Resolutions 84, 85, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, and 93. May I ask the Secretary read the entire text of the resolution, section PS Resolution 83, Mr. President.
Is there, first of all, is there any objection to the motion to consider PS Resolution number 83? Hearing none, PS Resolution 83 is considered.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Secretary, please.
Yes.
A resolution commending and congratulating Heidelin Diaz for winning the silver medal in the women's 53-kilogram category in weightlifting in the Rio 2016 Olympics. Whereas,
the title only. Majority Leader, did you
yes,
move
the
for the
title
only?
will do at this point, Mr. President, because there will be 5 members of the Senate who will sponsor the measure. So I move that the principal author, Senator Manny Pacquiao, be recognized to sponsor the measure, and thereafter Senators Binay, Ejercito, Angara, and Legarda, Mr. President.
Senator Pacquiao is recognized to sponsor the measure. Senator Pacquiao. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mga kapwa kong senador, aking mga kababayan, at kay Heidelin Diaz, isang napakagandang hapon ang pinagkaloob ng Panginoon sa ating lahat. Dahil sa kanyang tagumpay na nakamit at karangalan na ibinigay sa ating bansa. Pagkaraan ng halos ng 20 taon na walang napanalunan ng ating bansa sa Olympic Games, binigyan tayo ng katwiran ni Ms. Heidelin Diaz upang magbunyi. Nagdala siya ng napakalaking karangalan nang nakamit niya ang silver medal sa 53 kg division ng weightlifting ngayong 2006 sa Rio Olympic Games. Heidelin alam kong hindi naging madali ang iyong paglalakbay upang marating ang iyong kinaroroonan ngayon. Hinarap mo ang mabibigat na hamon at muntik nang sumuko. Ganon pa man, nagbunga ang lahat ng iyong paghihirap. Simula sa Zamboanga patungo sa Houston, Texas, kung saan pinarangalan mo ang Pilipinas sa pagwagi ng 3 bronze medals sa International Weightlifting Federation hanggang narating mo ang Rio Olympics at ikaw ay nagdala ng silver medal. Ngayon, ikinagagalak ng ating Senate President, ng ating mga kapwa senador at ng buong Pilipinas na narito ka bilang isang world-class Filipino athlete. Heidelin, you are the first female athlete and the first weightlifter representing our country to win a medal in the Olympics. With this, I personally congratulate you for being triumphant in the Olympics. The Philippines is very proud of you. As chairperson of the Senate Committee on Sports, I filed Senate Resolution number 83 with co-author with all senators. Mr. President, mga kapwa ko senador, aking mga kababayan, pinatunayan ng ating kababayan na nagmula sa probinsya na may kakayahan tayong lumaban at manalo sa Olympic Games. Pinatunayan niya na hindi sagabal ang pagsubok sa pagtupad ng mga pangarap. She has given us the reason to dream bigger for ourselves and for our nation. Sa tulong at suporta ng bawat isa, mas lalong magkakaroon ng kakayahan at inspirasyon ang ating mga atleta na lumaban sa mga international competitions. Sa tulong nating lahat, itataas ng ating mga atleta ang ating bandila. Naniniwala ako sa galing ng bawat Pilipino. Naniniwala ako na kaya natin lahat ito. Muli, congratulations Heidelin at sa mga atletang Pilipino. Sama-sama tayong kikilos para sa tagumpay ng ating bayan. Mr. President, mga kapwa ko senador, aking mga kababayan, let us all give a round of applause to the pride of the Philippines, Heidelin Diaz. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator
Thank you.
Pacquiao.
Mr. President, for the record, these are the resolutions that were filed. Senate Resolution 83, Senator Pacquiao; 84, Senator Soto; 85, Hontiveros; 87, Gatchalian; 88, Angara; 89, Villanueva; 90, Villar; 91, Ejercito; 93, Binay; and 107, Legarda. But as the principal author said, if we could make all the senators present as co-authors of the measure. So at this point, may we recognize Senator Binay, one of the authors to sponsor. To continue the
Senator
sponsor.
Binay is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my privilege and honor to co-sponsor the resolution commending the accomplishment of a fellow woman, a woman who broke our country's 20-year-old medal weight in the Olympics. Heidelin Diaz is a woman of many firsts. The first Filipina to win an Olympic medal and the first Mindanaoan to do so. It gives me great pride to see women like her make waves and be honored for their accomplishments. Nakikiisa ako sa ating buong sambayanan sa pagkilala ng tagumpay ni Heidelin Diaz na nagkamit ng silver medal sa weightlifting sa 2016 Rio Olympics. Sinisimbolo ni Heidelin ang lakas ng loob at pagtsatsaga na ipinapakita nating mga Pilipino, lalo na sa pagharap natin sa mga pagsubok. Ang kanyang pinagdaanan ay puno ng aral at inspirasyon. Naranasan na rin ni Heidelin ang maraming balakid, ngunit hindi siya nagpatinag sa mga kabiguang ito. Nagpatuloy pa rin siya sa kanyang training at pagsali sa mga weightlifting competitions. Ang medalyang kanyang nakamit sa Rio Olympics ay bunga ng kanyang disiplina, pagpupunyagi, tiwala sa sarili at sa Diyos. Heidelin went home a hero and the newest darling of our country, longing for motivation. Siya ay isang inspirasyon, hindi lamang para sa ating mga kababayang atleta, kung hindi para rin sa bawat Pilipinong nais patunayan ang kanilang mga sarili sa anumang larangan. Heidelin showed us that those who rise from defeat and persevere against self-doubt win. Isa siyang inspirasyon sa mga gustong magtagumpay sa buhay. Ang bawat pagsubok sa buhay ay parang barbell lamang. Minsan, pipilitin mong buhatin kahit mabigat. Minsan naman, di mo na susubukan sa pag-aakalang kalamnay mabibinat. Sa tulong ng may kapal, anumang bigat ng iyong binuhat sa nakaraan ay magiging isang matibay na sandigan sa pagharap sa kinabukasan. Mabuhay ka, Heidelin. Pinagmamalaki ka ng buong Pilipinas. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Binay.
Mr. President, may we recognize Senator J.V. Ejercito?
Senator Ejercito is recognized.
Magandang hapon po, Ginoong Pangulo. Noong ika-7 ng Agosto nitong taon, isang Pilipina na nagngangalang Heidelin Diaz ang nagwagayway ng ating badila sa Olympics sa Rio de Janeiro. Isa itong karangalan sa bansa at mahalagang pangyayari sa ating kasaysayan. Ang kanyang tagumpay ay totoong nagdala ng national pride at inspirasyon sa bawat Pilipino. I filed Senate Resolution number 91 to acknowledge the victory of Heidelin Diaz and the pride she brought to every Filipino here and abroad. Her feat is truly a showcase of determination and a commendable effort to represent the country. In representing the nation, she did an exceptional job. Let me also take this opportunity to commend the hard work of all our athletes that represented our country in the Olympics. Mr. President, nais kong bigyan diin ang magandang epekto ng kanyang tagumpay, hindi lamang sa larangan ng sports sa ating bansa, kundi at mas lalo na sa magandang dulot ito sa ating mga kabataan. Higit pa sa inspirasyon ay pag-asa na binigay sa atin ni Heidelin, lalo na sa mga kabataan tulad niya. Ang mga kabataan ay tunay natin maasahan na pangalagaan ng ating kabayan. Kailangan lamang natin silang suportahan at bigyan ng mga oportunidad kung saan sila ay makagunguna katulad ng sports at edukasyon. Mapalad po tayo sa kongresong ito na ang People's Champ ay namumuno sa Sports Committee. Wala nang hihigit pa na makagbibigay ng karangalan sa ating bansa. Ang mga medalya, parangal, insentibo at iba pang gantimpala ay karagdagan na lamang. Naniniwala po ako na marami pang susunod sa yapak ni Heidelin na magsusumikat upang maabot nila ang kanilang mga pangarap. Heidelin, ang ating Pilipinas Superwoman. Mabuhay ka. Maraming pong salamat. Magandang araw sa inyo lahat.
Thank you, Senator Ejercito.
Mr. President, may we recognize Senator Angara?
Senator Angara is recognized.
Salamat, Ginoong Majority Leader, Ginoong Pangulo. Mr. President, Heidelin's victory is unprecedented. It reminds the nation of the great things Filipinos are capable of achieving. Sa pagkapanalo ni Heidelin, naalala po nating lahat na may makakamtan na tagumpay tuwing may sipag, tiyaga at pananalig sa Diyos at sarili. Sumasama po tayo sa ating chairman ng Sports Committee at Pambansang Kamao kay Senator Manny Pacquiao. Sumasama po tayo di lamang sa bulwagang ito, kundi di lamang sa General Santos City, pati na rin sa Las Vegas ay sumasama tayo. Ginoong Presidente, si Heidelin ay nagsimulang magbuhat sa edad ng 11. Tinanong po natin si Zamboanga Representative Celso Lobregat kung bakit tila mahusay sa weightlifting ang mga Zamboangueño. Ang fellow weightlifter po ni Heidelin kasi sa Rio Olympics na si Nestor Colonia ay tubong Zamboanga din. Patawang sagot po ni Kong Celso sa akin, sanay kasi mag-igib ng tubig ang mga taga-Zamboanga. Nagsimula po siyang magsanay sa isang maliit na makeshift gym sa Zamboanga City. Buhat-buhat ang mga barbell, pasan-pasan din po niya ang responsibilidad niya bilang breadwinner ng kanyang pamilya. Siya ay panlima sa 6 na anak at habang ang tatay niya ay tricycle driver, pinagkasya ni Heidelin ang sweldo bilang sundalo para sa kanyang buong pamilya. Matapos siyang hindi pala rin sa nakalipas na 2 Olympics, sabi niya sa sarili niya, itong 2016, It's now or never. Ready na siya mag-move on, iwanan ng weightlifting at ipagpatuloy sana ang kanyang pag-aaral. Pero sa pamamagitan ng tiyaga, disiplina, determinasyon, at hindi pagsuko sa gitna ng mga pagsubok kasama ang pananampalataya sa Panginoon, nasungkit po niya ang silver medal sa 2016 Olympics. Naipakita po niya na kaya ng Pilipinas lumaban at makipagsabayan sa ibang bansa. Isa pong inspirasyon si Heidelin sa mga kabataan ngayon na hindi hadlang ang kahirapan para mangarap, magpursige at magtagumpay. Ginoong Presidente, para po sa mga atletang tulad ni Heidelin, kaya natin pinasa ang New Athletes Incentives Law o Republic Act 10699 na sponsor po ng inyong lingkod at kasama po si Majority Leader Soto, Minority Leader Recto, Senator Villar and Cayetano sa mga authors ng Republic Act 10699 na si Heidelin po ang magiging kauna-unahang Filipino Olympian na makikinabang kung saan matatanggap po niya ang 5 million cash incentive na walang bawas po mula sa buwis. Noong Heroes Welcome para kay Heidelin, personal ko pong nakita ang kanyang pagiging mapagkumbaba. Hindi naman daw niya habol ang cash incentive, ang mahalaga lamang ay ang karangalan na maging kinatawan ng Pilipinas sa Olympics at ang makapanalo ng medalyang ito. With her winnings, Heidelin plans to set up a powerlifting gym in her hometown to hone future athletes and future Olympians, hopefully. She hopes that the praise she has been getting will translate to greater support for Philippine sports and grassroots development in adequate equipment and sports facilities, proper training and nutrition, enhanced coaching and athletes program. Nagpapasalamat po tayo sa Philippine Sports Commission sa liderato po ni Chairman Butch Ramirez sa mabilis na pag-release ng kanyang reward sa ilalim po ng Republic Act 10699. Sana yung coach din niya ay makuha yung kanyang insentibo na entitled po siya na kalahati dun sa award ni Heidelin Diaz. Marami pa pong katulad si Heidelin. Sila'y nangangarap na mabigyan ng pagkakataon na maging kinatawan ng ating bansa. Bukod sa pagbibigay pugay, nasa kamay po natin ang kakayahan para suportahan silang lahat. Muli, maraming salamat sa iyo, Heidelin. Napakalaking karangalan at tagumpay ang ibinigay mo sa bansa. Sulong patungong ginto sa Tokyo sa 2020. Mabuhay ka.
Thank you, Senator Angara.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we recognize Senator Legarda?
Senator Legarda is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is with great pride that I join my esteemed colleagues in honoring Ms. Heidelin Diaz, who made history for the Philippines by winning the silver medal in the women's 53-kilogram weightlifting division during the 2016 Summer Olympic Games held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The 25-year-old medalist, a native of Zamboanga City, put an end to the country's Olympic medal drought after 20 long years. Being the first Filipina female athlete to win an Olympic medal for the Philippines is an inspiration for every Filipino and an empowering victory for all women in our nation. Her undaunted perseverance to win in the Olympics weightlifting division goes to show that we are not bound by the weight of challenges we encounter in our lives as long as we exhibit bold persistence and sheer determination. On this note, I express my full support for the Senate resolutions filed congratulating and commending our Olympic weightlifter, Ms. Heidelin Diaz. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Legarda.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finally, Senator Villanueva, Mr. President.
Senator Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. It's such a great honor and privilege for this representation to sponsor resolution number 89, recognizing and commending Heidelin Diaz for winning silver medal in weightlifting in the 2016 Summer Olympic Games in Rio, Brazil. Mr. President, isang napakalaking karangalan ang ma-meet personally si Heidelin ngayong hapon na ito. Sa totoo lang, Heidelin, na-starstruck ako at marami sa amin dito sa Senado. Na-starstruck kami sapagkat marami po dito sa Senado ang talagang certified sports fanatic. And imagine, you are the first, itong nangyari pong ito ay first Olympic medal in 20 years. Kaya naman tuwan-tuwa ho kami at nakikigala kami sa iyong tagumpay, Heidelin. At bilang isang dating atleta rin na nagrepresenta ng ating bansa at hindi lang dating atleta kundi isang probinsyano rin, damang-dama ko yung galak na nararamdaman mo at nararamdaman ng buong bansa. Isa kang tunay na inspirasyon, isa kang living testimony na indeed hard work pays off. It is not easy yung pinagdaanan mo, 2 Olympics na hindi ka nakakuha ng medalya pero hindi ka nag-give up. Kaya ikaw ay tunay na Filipino pride. Gaya ng maraming mga Pilipino na nagdaan sa maraming pagsubok ng mga nakaraang tragedies, Yolanda, yung mga OFWs na nakikibaka, maaaring hindi nasa magandang working condition pero hindi sila nag-give up. I'm sure lahat sila na-inspire mo at kasama kami dun sa mga na-inspire na yun. Kaya Heidelin, isa kang huwaran, isa kang modelo at tunay na sumasalamin sa pagkatao ng isang tunay na Pilipino. Mr. President, please allow me again to congratulate Heidelin. At Heidelin, mabuhay ka at sa 2020, please bring home the gold. God bless you more.
Thank you, Senator Villanueva.
Mr. President, I stand corrected. May we recognize Senator Zubiri to sponsor.
Senator Subiri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, mine, aside from the commendation of our silver medalist, Heidelin Diaz, for winning the silver medal, Mr. President, I would like to take this opportunity as well, not just congratulating the silver medalist, that she brought pride to our country after winning almost 20 years, not winning any silver medal, but we'd also like to highlight the need for us to focus on our sports development program, Mr. President. In spite of the fact that the Philippine Sports Commission only had 400 million pesos budget, and I know the PSC is here today, represented ably by Mr. Bush Ramirez, we were able to still get a silver medal. Mr. President, to give you the proper perspective, Singapore, who won a gold medal in these Olympics, their first ever, who apparently was nannied by a Filipina, which is the big buzz in the internet, Mr. President, spends 4.5 billion pesos a year on their sports program. Biro mo, naka-isang gold medal sila. Pero 4.5, that is only 1/10 of what we spend for our sports program. Ang problema pa, Mr. President, minsan ay nawawala pa sa korupsyon in previous administrations. Now, with the leadership of Mr. Butch Ramirez, hopefully this chamber can increase the budget of the PSC, Philippine Sports Commission, so maybe in the next tournaments or Olympic Games, we can probably get the gold. As not to mention the fact, or at least before I forget to mention the fact, that we are going to host the SEA Games next year. So hopefully, in the 1991 SEA Games, I remember nag-number 1 po ang Pilipinas in the medal standing. And hopefully, in the next SEA Games, I hope that we can achieve that again. So I congratulate Heidelin Diaz for her silver medal, Mr. President. But let us also congratulate the PSC, because they have been in the receiving end of a lot of comments and, of course, masasakit na mga komento sa internet and the press for not creating more super athletes from the Philippines. With a budget like that, we cannot blame them. So, Mr. President, I'm here to stand on behalf of the PSC and hopefully give them the budget due to them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Subiri.
Thank you, Mr. President. That is it for the sponsorship. And as in any measure that we pass in the Senate, it is open for reactions, for comments, and for interpellations. So at this point, may we recognize Senator Franklin Drilon, Mr. President.
Senator Drilon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I join my colleagues in passing proposed Senate Resolution number 83, which recognizes Heidelin Diaz for the honor that she has brought to our country. She is the first Filipina who has won for the country a silver medal, the first medal for the country in over 20 years. Indeed, this is very inspiring. But, Mr. President, to be more meaningful, for the resolution to be more meaningful, may I move, Mr. President, that the Senate authorizes the Senate President to give a cash incentive to Heidelin Diaz at a discretion to be drawn from the savings of the Senate to be given to this deserving athlete which has brought honor to our country. If that is in order, Mr. President.
Okay, in the course of the discussion, a motion is being made by Senator Drilon to authorize the Senate President to give a cash reward to our Olympic silver medalist in the person of Heidelin Diaz. Is there any objection to be taken from the savings? Is there any objection? Hearing none, congratulations, Senator Drilon. Your motion is approved.
Mr. President, at this stage, will the principal sponsor yield to one or two questions?
That is Senator Pacquiao, sir?
Yes.
Yes, Senator Pacquiao, if you will yield to questions from Senator Drilon. It's up to you, sir. It's up to you. Dili.
Hindi niya alam na siya. Madali lang, Manny. Madaling question lang, isang question lang. Manny, katuwaan lang.
It's up to Senator Pacquiao if you will allow questions.
Mr. President, I'm willing to yield a question to my colleague if he can survive 3 rounds.
Ano raw? Mr. President, Mr. President, our colleague, Senator Pacquiao, has also brought honor to our country. And I think in the past, if my memory does not betray me, we have also recognized Senator Pacquiao for his achievements in the field of boxing. Apart from that, Mr. President, Senator Pacquiao has also been known for his generosity. In fact, stories abound about how Senator Pacquiao has helped worthy causes and individuals who need help. Huh? So, Mr. President, you know, Ms. Diaz has dreams for our country and for the youth. In fact, she intends to use the incentive that she has received in order to put up a gym where the aspiring athletes can follow her example. And it is in this regard that we would like to ask Senator Pacquiao, pwede rin po magbalato sa iyo si Heidi?
Mr. President, now I'm going to ask a question to my colleague if how much he will give to Heidelin Diaz for this achievements that he accomplished.
Hindi po ako wala po akong kinikita sa kay Bob Arum. I am not a
Mr. President, definitely I will give Heidelin Diaz incentives from my own pocket, but I will not announce it because
that's correct.
It's a personal.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Senator Pacquiao. Thank you very much. Maybe you can triple the amount that will be given by the Senate President from the savings of the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Drilon.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I move to close the period of interpellation. And before I move for the approval or the adoption of the resolution, I would just like to make mention of the fact that Ms. Heidelin Diaz is accompanied by Olympian Nestor Colonia and members of the Zamboanga City Council, Mr. President. We have Councilors Romel Agan, Ginan Eding, and Bong Atilano with us also, Mr. President.
So, welcome to the councilors of Zamboanga City as well as to the PSC chairman and his officials who are here.
So, with the consent of the body, I move for the adoption of Senate Resolution 83, taking into consideration Senate Resolution 84, 85, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, and 93, and 107, Mr. President. So move.
Subject to style.
Subject to style in order to consolidate the 9 measures.
Can the chair amend the motion by making all the senators as co-authors
Yes.
of the resolution?
Yes, Mr. President. Indeed.
So there is a motion to approve PS Resolution 83, taking into consideration the various other related PS resolutions, subject to style, and making all senators as co-authors thereof. Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the session to allow Ms. Heidelin Diaz and the members of the Senate and the Senate President to...
We are ready to present Ms. Heidelin Diaz, the resolution honoring her. So we
Yes.
declare a few minutes suspension.
Yes, may we ask Ms. Diaz to ascend to the rostrum?
All our
Kasi ko po yung isang pamangkin nyo, si Attorney de Lima, Alexis de Lima po. Nasa Lapo. Agad daw tayo. Ano? Ani, agad daw tayo. Agad daw tayo. Tawag daw tayo. Tita,
Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also, earlier we had visitors from Tingloy, Batangas, Mayor Mark Lores Alvarez and Councilor Nina Verdan, Mr. President. Now, I move that we proceed with the reference of business, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Secretary, reference of business.
1001, an act regulating transportation network services, imposing and authorizing fees, providing penalties and for violations thereof and for other purposes. Senator Win Gatchalian.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
1002, an act establishing the Information Technology Office in every municipality, city, and province and for other purposes. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and Local Government.
1003, an act regulating the imposition of fees for the use of parking spaces and facilities in shopping malls, hospitals, schools, and similar establishments, including vacant lots used exclusively for parking, and prescribing penalties for violation thereof. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
1004, an act establishing evacuation centers in every municipality and city, providing for the necessary facilities, ensuring their structural capacity, and appropriating funds, therefore. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security, Public Works, and Finance.
1005, an act mandating the automation of a national public school database. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture.
1006, an act providing for the condonation of penalties for unpaid Social Security contributions of household employers relative to Republic Act Number 7655, entitled An Act Increasing the Minimum Wage of House Helpers, amending for the purpose Article 143 of Presidential Decree Number 442 as amended, and Republic Act Number 10361, also known as the Domestic Workers Act or Batas Kasambahay. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
07, an act mandating an accident and life insurance coverage for construction workers. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
08, an act providing for stiffer penalties for willful or indiscriminate discharge of firearms, amending for the purpose Act Number 3815 as amended, otherwise known as the Revised Penal Code. Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
09, an act amending Section 24 and 25 of Republic Act Number 8424, otherwise known as the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended, by removing the tax exemption on sweepstakes and lotto winnings in the Philippines. Senator Sani Angara.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
10, an act modifying the compensation and position classification system of civilian government personnel and the base pay schedule of military and uniformed personnel in the government. Senator Sani Angara.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
11, an act amending Batas Pambansa Bilang 68 or the Corporation Code of the Philippines. Senator Sani Angara.
To the Committees on Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes and Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
12, an act defining and prohibiting senior citizen abuse, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes. Senator Sani Angara.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development and Finance.
13, an act is strengthening the procedure for registration of voters during barangay elections, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 8189, also known as the Voters Registration Act of 1996. Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation.
14, an act promoting and enforcing the right of the people to information on matters of public concern and for other purposes. Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Public Information and Mass Media and Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation.
15, an act instituting a national land use policy providing the implementing mechanisms, therefore, and for other purposes, Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Environment and Natural Resources and Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement.
16, an act strengthening the Witness Protection, Security, and Benefit Program, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 6981, otherwise known as the Witness Protection, Security, and Benefit Act, and providing additional funds, therefore, Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Finance.
17, an act providing for the maintenance and welfare of senior citizens, further amending Republic Act number 7432 as amended, and for other purposes, Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committee on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development.
18, an act providing for the protection, security, and benefits of the whistleblowers, appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes, Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Finance.
19, an act enhancing the ease of doing business by exempting micro and small enterprises from the payment of percentage tax, amending for the purpose the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended, Senator Recto.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
20, an act amending pertinent laws of the retirement benefits and pension of the uniformed personnel of the uniformed services and providing funds, therefore, Senator Trillanes IV.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security and Government Corporations and Public Enterprises.
1021, an act providing the PhilHealth premium subsidy for all persons with disability, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7277 as amended, otherwise known as the Magna Carta for Persons with Disability, providing funds, therefore, and for other purposes, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development, and Health and Demography.
1022, an act institutionalizing the Abot Alam program of the Department of Education, Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Finance.
1023, an act instituting a national comprehensive framework on resilient housing and human settlements, appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes, Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committees on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, and Finance.
1024, an act financing the Education for All initiatives from the annual value-added tax collections, amending for the purpose the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended, Senator Recto.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
1025, an act authorizing the examination of bank deposits, accounts and records of pushers, manufacturers, cultivators, importers, and financiers of dangerous drugs, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 9165 and for other purposes, Senator Lacson.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Justice and Human Rights.
1026, an act granting bereavement leave of 10 days with full pay to all employees in the private and public sectors and for other purposes, Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development and Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation.
1027, an act amending Republic Act number 7653, otherwise known as the New Central Bank Act, and for other purposes, Senator Escudero.
To the Committees on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies, and Ways and Means.
1028, an act creating a system of food distribution for addressing the nutritional needs of the people, providing for its procurement process, and appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes, Senator Pangilinan.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development, and Finance.
1029, an act providing for a national framework for students' rights and welfare, Senator Risa Hontiveros.
To the Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture.
1030, an act regulating the sale of toluene-based products, Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
1031, an act to deter the continued proliferation of immoral doctrines, obscene publications, and exhibitions and indecent shows by increasing the penalties against them, amending for this purpose Act number 3815 as amended and Republic Act number 7610, Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, and Justice and Human Rights.
1032, an act requiring the implementation by brand owners of management plans that provide refund values for certain beverage containers. Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship and Finance.
1033, an act institutionalizing telecommunicating in the workplace and for other purposes. Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
1034, an act establishing a retirement benefit system for prosecutors in the Office of the Ombudsman and for other purposes. Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
1035, an act creating the National Independent Commission Against Corruption, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
Resolutions, proposed Senate Resolution number 94, urging the President Rodrigo Duterte to authorize the disbursement of funds from the Presidential Social Fund to augment the resources of local government units for the rehabilitation of drug users in the respective localities, subject to the issuance of guidelines by the Department of Interior and local government by Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Finance and Local Government.
95, recognizing and commending the outgoing Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas board members led by outgoing officers, namely President Manny V. Pangilinan, Chairman Oscar Moreno, and Vice Chairman Ricky Vargas for SBP's achievements and invaluable support to Philippine basketball by Senator Sonny Angara.
To the Committee on Rules.
96, directing the appropriate committee to inquire and review and aid of legislation the extent of contractualization in different industries in the Philippines by Senator Joel Villanueva.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development, and Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
97, directing the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the current state of jails and penitentiaries all over the country with the end and view of instituting remedial legislative measures that would ensure that the government accomplishes the goals of the penal and detention systems, including the protection of the rights and welfare of persons deprived of liberty by Senator Laila M. de Lima.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
99, directing the Senate Committee on Public Services to review the discretion and power given to the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board to prescribe routes for UV Express vehicles with the end goal of formulating measures to ensure that due process, proper consultation with all stakeholders, and reasonable criteria and parameters shall be observed in the process of route selection and or alteration of the same by Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committee on Public Services.
100, urging the Congressional Oversight Committee on the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010 to immediately conduct a sunset review pursuant to Sections 26 and 27 of RA 10121, otherwise known as the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010, for purposes of determining remedial legislation, as well as to consider establishing a separate full-time permanent cabinet-level disaster resilience and emergency management agency, which shall serve as the focal agency for the integrated disaster resilience, climate change adaptation, and mitigation and emergency management by Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
101, congratulating and commending the awardees of the 2016 Metrobank Foundation Rotary Club of New Manila East Search for the country's outstanding police officers in service by Senator Cynthia A. Villar.
Committee on Rules.
102, honoring and commending the outstanding Filipino soldiers of 2016 awarded by the Metrobank Foundation Incorporated and the Rotary Club of Makati Metro by Senator Honasan II.
To the Committee on Rules.
103, directing the Senate Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on stranded overseas Filipino workers in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, considering the implementation of government assistance programs for migrant workers by Senator Sonny Angara.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development and Foreign Relations.
104, directing the proper Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the capability of local government units to plan, implement, and enforce anti-drug abuse policies, programs, and projects with the ultimate goal of eradicating the drug menace haunting our localities, by Senator Sonia Angara.
To the Committees on Local Government and Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
And proposed Senate Resolution number 105, congratulating, commending, and honoring the UPIPs for bringing glory and honor to the Philippines by becoming the world champions in the 2016 World Hip Hop Dance Championship by Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move to elect Senator Laila de Lima as additional member to the Committee on Agrarian Reform.
There is a motion to elect Senator De Lima as additional member to the Committee on Agrarian Reform. Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Just as a manifestation, Mr. President, Senators J.V. Ercito and Sherwin Gatchalian are appointed by Senator Sani Angara as Vice Chairpersons of the Committee on Local Government, Mr. President.
The manifestation is noted.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, August 22, 2016.
Is there any objection? There being none, session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, August 22, 2016.